again, we did a lot of coverage of it. What was that actually like for you? Was that a moment of, was the overwhelming emotion relief of dodging a bullet, or was the overwhelming emotion grief of the relationship being over, or what was that moment?
A lot of people use that word dodging a bullet, and it kind of like doesn't sit well with me. I met him, I knew him, I'm responsible for the relationship that we had from my side, and I'm 100% here and accountable. I have 2 girls, and I'm a single parent, and I've raised my kids and educated my kids and given them like an amazing foundation so they can go off and be the best versions of themselves. And I would never change anything that I've done in the past. And, it's ironic because I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and she's like, she's like, the 6 years that I've known you, you never went for like a real guy. You always were like dating people and like people that liked you and chasing you, but you never went for like the real man that you deserve. And, I said to her, it's interesting that you say that, because that's probably attributed to this extreme insecurity, which I've found out about. This podcast, after all this unraveled, I got a podcast on iHeartRadio called I Do Part 2. And coupled with the podcasting every week, I also was in therapy. And I've learned so much about myself. First of all, I'm wildly insecure, which obviously the fans from Real Housewives knew, but I didn't, or I was afraid to talk about. And just this fear of providing and being this, like, I always talk about like, I'm the mama bear and the papa bear, and like try to make fun of it and light of it. But, when you're living in New York City, people just don't realize like how expensive things are. And coupled with the things that I wanted for my kids, like I wanted them to have a framework that my father gave me, like that no one can take away from them. And so that they can make decisions that maybe are unfavorable. But, I made a decision 4 days before I was supposed to get married, because I'm like, this is not what I want.
Am I understanding that right if I say, you're kind of aware of how hard you've worked to put yourself in this position of stability and for your family, and that moment of realizing that this person doesn't value that, doesn't understand how important that is to you, maybe, and you see how easily that could go away.
But it's a risk. But like, they always talk about like risk reward. So for me, it was a big risk. But the reward of recognizing how insecure I was and recognizing how I needed to really work on myself in order to be able to sit here with you confidently.